Yunara is League's newest ADC, and her identity is pretty defined. She's a scaling marksman designed for teamfighting. Here's everything you need to know about her in 6 minutes. As I said earlier, Yunara is a scaling ADC. Her early game is weak, and most lanes will feel like a survival phase. But her strength lies in how she ramps. Once you reach 3 items, her teamfight presence becomes significant. She is built for longer games, where you can reach those item spikes. She doesn't win lane, she is weak in 1v1s, but she thrives in organized teamfights with a good setup around her. Let me make this one fast, because you already saw her abilities plenty of times everywhere, I'm sure of it. Her passive makes her crit autos deal additional AP damage. Nothing complex here. Your Q is your main ability. You have to charge it up by autoing a few times first, just like Ashe Q. Once it's ready, your autos deal AoE splash damage for a couple of seconds. W is a long-range projectile that slows in an area and can execute minions if they've been hit enough times. It's similar to the W in terms of range and use case. E gives her a short burst of movement speed. It helps reposition or dodge skill shots. Ultimate empowers everything. Your Q is always active during the duration. W becomes a fast laser that hits instantly, and the E turns into a small dash, so you can jump over some walls. There has been some experimentation with off-meta builds like AP or on-hit, but they don't play to her strength. Yunara is a traditional crit-based ADC. Her passive, Q, and the general playstyle revolve around auto-attacks and the scaling damage. AP and on-hit basically removes your passive from the game, and the Q splash damage won't be as significant as with crit. Here's the general build path that works, but it's just my guess, and it can be changed in the future. Yuntal is her core first item, strong stats and the synergy with her kit. Essence River is not good, because her mana costs are low. Collector designed for early game, so definitely not her style. As second item you can go Phantom Dancer if you are dealing with 3+ ranged champions and need movement during fights. Runan's Hurricane is also good if you are against 3+ melee champions and want to apply AoE pressure. About Nav Warrior second, I don't think it's good. Her Q is basically up all the fight, and the other buttons already have low cooldowns. Infinity Edge is the standard third item that you should go in most games. If the enemy is stacking armor, you can change it to LDR. Alternatively, Terminus is something that can be a very strong but underrated choice for Yunara due to high amount of AP damage. We will see it with the data when she will be released. And if you don't want to miss her potential OP builds, smash that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. Anyway, Lethal Tempo with Inspiration is the default choice. She scales with attack speed and wants to stay in extended fights. However, PTA can be potentially good for her, especially if most of enemies are squishy and you won't have long team fights. Sadly, Conqueror doesn't work for her, because her Q applies only one stack. For secondaries, as I said, Inspiration is the safest choice, but Sorcery is potentially the best for Yunara due to how she plays. She's a scaling champion, so Gathering Storm fits her late game power. Celerity pairs well with her E movement speed, and Absolute Focus is good, because she's pretty safe. Resolve is situational. It's worth considering if you're against heavy dive with lots of threats, but it's not the standard option, of course. Yunara isn't mechanically complex, but using her kit properly still matters. Your main trading tool is Auto into Q. Her Q resets your auto attack, so this small trade pattern gives you good early damage. When looking to poke or trade at range, stack Q and then look for W. If W lands, you can auto into Q and then use E to disengage. You can also start with E, but be aware that you won't have your escape tool anymore. Her main ceiling lies with her ultimate usage. You need to press it not before teamfight, but right when teamfight starts. If you press it too early, you will be really weak, because you will need to stack your Q first. Another important thing is that not only E becomes a dash, it also resets your E cooldown. For example, if someone is ganking you, you can press E for move speed, ultimate, and press E again. It makes her much safer during laning phase and teamfights. Her W's cooldown is also reduced by 80% when she's entering and exiting her ultimate state. So ideally you wanna press W just before your ultimate for additional damage. Yunara performs best in AoE compositions or protect the carry setups. Champions like Ornn, Orianna, Jarvan and Rell work well with her. She wants time and space to deal damage. Enchanters like Lulu and Janna are also good. Avoid picking her against aggressive lane bullies like Draven, Kog'Maw or Tristana. Her early game can't match their tempo, and if she falls behind, it takes a lot of time to come back. Her ideal situation is when you know that your team will group later with AoE buttons and you can scale for free in early game. Overall, Yunara is a solid scaling pick with strong AoE damage and safe teamfighting. If you build and draft around her properly, she has the tools to carry fights. If you want to learn more about other optimizations for ADCs, I recommend checking my video about Drive. It explains why it's one of the strongest but underrated runes for ADCs. I will see you there. Like, subscribe and drop a comment if you enjoyed the video. Bye!